Hey guys, tonight we're diving deep into an oceanic mystery, a spiritual convergence you probably never imagined. Picture this, the rhythmic lapping of waves against volcanic shores, the scent of frangipani heavy in the humid air, and the deep, resonant hum of a singing bowl echoing not through a Himalayan valley, but across a quiet lagoon in Fiji. You're about to explore how the profound stillness of Zen Buddhism found an improbable home amidst the vibrant, ancient cultures of the Pacific Islands. This isn't just a story, it's an immersion, a journey into the very heart of calm, where you might just find a new perspective on peace. You probably won't survive this journey unchanged. The serene depths we're about to plumb have a way of seeping into your very core. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're all tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing on the edge of a vast, shimmering expanse, the Pacific Ocean stretching out before you, an endless tapestry of blues and greens. This is where your journey begins, not with the arrival of grand Buddhist fleets, but with the subtle, almost imperceptible whispers of ancient echoes. For centuries, before any known Buddhist missionaries set foot on these shores, the islanders themselves cultivated a profound connection to their environment, a deep reverence for the natural world that, in hindsight, laid a remarkably fertile ground for the seeds of Zen to eventually take root. Think of the Polynesian navigators, those audacious seafarers who read the stars like a sacred text, who felt the ocean currents not as obstacles, but as guides. Their lives were an exquisite dance of mindfulness, a constant, heightened awareness of their surroundings. Every ripple on the water, every shift in the wind, every cloud formation held meaning. This wasn't merely survival, it was a form of active meditation, a deep engagement with the present moment that Zen champions. You can almost feel the spray on your face, the rocking of a double-hulled canoe, as these ancestors charted courses across thousands of miles of open water, their minds focused, clear, and utterly present. Their discipline, born of necessity and survival, mirrored the rigorous mental training of a meditating monk. There was no room for distraction, no space for mental clutter, when your very existence depended on your attunement to the world around you. Consider, too, the animistic beliefs prevalent across these islands. You hear the rustle of leaves and sense the presence of unseen spirits in the trees. Feel the power of ancestral deities residing in sacred stones and mountains. This deep respect for nature as a living entity, imbued with spirit and consciousness, resonates strongly with the Zen concept of interconnectedness, of all things being part of the same vast, undifferentiated whole. When a Zen practitioner bows to a stone garden, they are acknowledging not just the aesthetic arrangement, but the inherent Buddha, nature within all phenomena. Similarly, for the islanders, the land, the sea, the sky were not merely resources, they were kin, imbued with spiritual power, demanding respect and fostering a sense of profound belonging. You see how this underlying spiritual framework, though different in nomenclature, shared a common thread, a deep reverence for existence itself. You might also reflect on the oral traditions and storytelling that formed the bedrock of island cultures. These were not just tales, they were living histories, intricate genealogies, moral lessons passed down through generations. The act of listening, of memorizing, of repeating these narratives cultivated a form of focused attention that is essential to any spiritual practice, including Zen. Imagine sitting around a fire, the glow illuminating the faces of elders as they recount ancient myths. The collective consciousness of the community drawn into a shared space of deep listening. This collective mindfulness, this shared presence, prepared the ground for teachings that would later emphasize silence, deep listening, and the wisdom of direct experience. The intricate social structures of many island societies also contributed to this latent readiness. You observe the communal living, the emphasis on interdependence, the profound importance of family and kinship ties. In many ways, these societies were already practicing a form of collective Sangha, a community of practitioners supporting one another. Zen, at its core, is often practiced within a monastic or community setting, where individuals support each other's journey toward enlightenment. The existing social fabric of the islands, with its emphasis on harmony, shared responsibility, and communal well-being, offered a natural template for the development of Buddhist communities. You can almost feel the warmth of shared meals, the strength of collective labor, the comfort of knowing you are part of a larger whole. Even the rhythmic arts, the drumming, the chanting, the intricate dances, were forms of meditative expression. You feel the pulsating beat of the drums, the synchronized movements of dancers, and recognize the trance-like states they could induce, leading to altered perceptions and a sense of unity. These were not mere entertainments, they were spiritual conduits, ways of connecting with the ancestral realm and with the divine. This willingness to engage in repetitive, focused activities that led to heightened states of awareness, albeit through different means, mirrored the repetitive nature of Zen meditation, where the focus on breath or a koan aims to quiet the discursive mind and open a pathway to deeper insights. So, as you stand here at the threshold of this journey, you recognize that the Pacific Islands were not a blank slate awaiting spiritual inscription. They possessed a rich tapestry of indigenous wisdom, a deeply ingrained sense of connection to nature, community, and the sacred. These were the ancient echoes, the resonant frequencies that, perhaps unknowingly, prepared the hearts and minds of the islanders for a new, yet strangely familiar, path to calm. The stage was set, not by design, but by the natural evolution of cultures deeply attuned to the rhythms of life. Waiting for the first gentle currents of a different kind of calm to wash upon their shores, you sense a profound readiness, an openness to the vastness, both external and internal, that would eventually allow Zen to flourish in ways few could have predicted. You continue your journey, leaving the ancient echoes behind, and now you're watching the vast Pacific, not just as a barrier, but as a bridge. It's here, on the shimmering surface of the ocean, that you witness the currents of calm arrive, not as a conquering force, but as gentle ripples, carried by the trade winds and the intrepid souls who traverse these watery expanses. The introduction of Buddhist thought into Oceania wasn't a sudden, grand invasion, but a gradual infiltration, often unintentional, brought by individuals whose primary purpose was trade, exploration, or simply survival. Imagine the Chinese junks and Malay prahus, their distinctive sails billowing, cutting across the waves centuries ago. You see them, laden with spices, silks, and pottery, docking in bustling island ports. These weren't missionary vessels, but commercial enterprises. Yet, aboard these ships, among the crew and merchants, were often individuals from Buddhist cultures China, Southeast Asia, even India, through circuitous routes. These travelers carried their beliefs not as doctrine to be preached, but as an inherent part of their daily lives. You might observe a merchant quietly performing prostrations before a small altar in his cabin, or a sailor murmuring a mantra as he casts a net. These were the first, subtle instances of Buddhist calm washing upon oceanic shores. Think about the artifacts that might have inadvertently traveled with them. A small jade Buddha statue, perhaps, tucked away among trade goods. A piece of intricately carved wood depicting a lotus flower, a symbol of purity and enlightenment used as decoration, a scroll with elegant calligraphy, perhaps a fragment of a sutra, its meaning unknown to the islanders, but its aesthetic beauty admired. These objects, initially viewed as exotic curiosities, subtly introduced Buddhist iconography and symbolism into the island's psyche. You might see an islander picking up a small, serene Buddha image, feeling its cool weight, a faint sense of peace emanating from its form, even if they don't comprehend its spiritual significance. It's a silent, visual whisper of a different path to tranquility. Beyond the material, consider the behavioral influences. You observe a Buddhist merchant, perhaps known for his equanimity in negotiations, his patience in waiting for favorable winds, his compassion when dealing with disputes. These qualities, born of Buddhist practice, would have stood in stark contrast to the often volatile and immediate reactions characteristic of traditional island interactions. An island chief, observing such a person, might ponder the source of their unusual calm, their ability to remain unruffled amidst chaos. This living example of mindfulness and inner peace, demonstrated through action rather than words, was a powerful, if unspoken, sermon. You might hear tales of a foreign trader who, despite significant losses, remained composed, offering a quiet smile instead of anger, leaving a lasting impression on those who witnessed his composure. You might also consider the less obvious channels, shipwrecked sailors, for instance. A solitary survivor, washed ashore on a remote island, might have carried fragments of Buddhist knowledge with them. In their struggle for survival, in their moments of fear or despair, their ingrained practices, a deep breath, a silent recitation, a visualization of peace, could have been observed by their rescuers. These isolated instances, though perhaps not leading to widespread conversion, would have planted tiny, resilient seeds of understanding, demonstrating the practical application of Buddhist calm in extreme circumstances. You imagine such a person, eyes closed, perhaps counting breaths, a quiet stillness radiating from them amidst the crashing waves and the curious stares of the islanders. Furthermore, the very trans-oceanic voyages themselves fostered a certain mentality that resonated with Buddhist principles. The long periods of isolation at sea, the vastness of the ocean, the sense of being a tiny speck in an immense universe, these experiences often lead to introspection, a stripping away of superficial concerns. You feel the profound solitude of the open sea, the ceaseless horizon, and recognize how it naturally encourages a turning inward. This contemplative state, forced by the environment, parallels the meditative isolation sought by monks. The discipline required to navigate such distances, to manage resources, to endure hardship, also mirrored the monastic discipline of self, control, and perseverance. Even the shared myths and archetypes might have provided points of connection. Many island cultures had stories of journeys to other realms, of heroes seeking inner wisdom, of the impermanence of all things. While not directly Buddhist, these narrative frameworks created a mental space where concepts like suffering, liberation, and cyclical existence could find echoes. You might hear an elder recount a legend of a hero who renounced worldly possessions for spiritual insight, and immediately you see a parallel with the renunciate path in Buddhism. These shared human experiences and narrative structures made the foreign concepts seem less alien, more relatable. So, as you trace these early currents, you realize that the arrival of Buddhist calm was not a singular event, but a multifaceted process. It was carried on the wind, etched into artifacts, embodied in the serene demeanor of foreign visitors, and perhaps even born from the inherent introspection demanded by the ocean itself. These subtle introductions, these initial ripples, didn't create a wave of conversion overnight. Instead, they gently prepared the shores, softening the ground, making the islands receptive to what would eventually become a deeper embrace of Zen. You understand that great changes often begin not with a roar, but with a whisper, carried on the faintest of breezes across vast, welcoming waters. You step onto the warm, sun-baked sand, feeling the gentle undulations of the tide beneath your feet. Having seen the faint outlines of Buddhist thought arrive, you now observe something remarkable: how the island shores embrace these new ideas, finding unexpected common ground with their own deeply rooted spiritual practices. This wasn't a clash of cultures, but often a subtle recognition of shared values and a surprisingly harmonious integration. Consider the concept of mana, prevalent across many Pacific cultures. You feel its presence as a pervasive spiritual force, an inherent power residing in individuals, objects, and places. It's not a deity in the Western sense, but an animating life force, a spiritual potency that defines worth and influence. Now, connect this to the Buddhist understanding of Buddha, nature, the inherent potential for enlightenment that exists within all sentient beings. While distinct, you can see how the concept of an intrinsic, powerful spiritual essence residing within everything could resonate with an islander already attuned to mana. The idea that inner peace and wisdom were not external gifts, but something to be cultivated from within might have felt like a familiar echo of their own understanding of inherent spiritual power. You imagine an elder listening to a trader speak of inner calm and nodding, recognizing a similar energy to the mana they sought to cultivate and respect. Then there's the emphasis on ancestor veneration. You see intricately carved effigies. Hear the reverence in voices as lineages are recounted. Feel the pervasive sense of connection to those who came before. Ancestors are not merely remembered, they are active participants in the present, guiding, protecting, and influencing daily life. This deep respect for legacy and the continuous flow of wisdom through generations found a surprising parallel in the Buddhist concept of lineage. In Zen, the transmission of Dharma from master to student, spanning centuries, is paramount. The unbroken chain of awakened minds connects practitioners to the very source of the teachings. For islanders, who deeply valued their own genealogical lines and the wisdom passed down from their forebears, the idea of a spiritual lineage offering a path to profound wisdom would have felt inherently understandable, even comforting. You can almost hear a monk explaining their spiritual ancestry, and an islander seeing a direct parallel to their own wakapopa or gafa. You also observe the strong communal focus in island life. Everything from fishing to feasting, from house building to conflict resolution, was often a collective endeavor. Individual well-being was inextricably linked to the well-being of the group. This deeply ingrained collectivism resonated powerfully with the Buddhist emphasis on Sangha, the spiritual community. Zen practice, while deeply personal, is often sustained and nurtured within a community of practitioners. The shared commitment to practice, the mutual support in times of difficulty, the collective striving for awakening, these aspects of Buddhist community life would have felt profoundly natural to islanders, accustomed to interdependence. You see a new Zen community forming, not as a radical departure, but as a natural extension of existing communal bonds, perhaps even strengthening them by adding a spiritual dimension. Consider the oral traditions and storytelling once more. These were not just entertainment, they were vehicles for transmitting complex philosophical ideas, ethical codes, and historical knowledge. The wisdom was embedded in narrative, passed from mouth to ear. This mode of learning and sharing mirrored, in some ways, the koan practice in Zen. Koans are enigmatic public cases, stories, or questions designed to break through conventional thought and provoke sudden awakening. While different in form, both relied on a deep engagement with narrative, on wrestling with meaning that was not always explicit, and on a reliance on intuitive understanding rather than purely logical deduction. You might hear an islander recounting a complex myth and sense the same patient unraveling of meaning that a Zen student undertakes with a koan. Even the topography of the islands themselves seem to invite contemplation. You stand on a remote clifftop, gazing at the endless ocean, or sit beneath the immense canopy of a banyan tree and feel an inherent sense of spaciousness and stillness. The natural world provided inherent opportunities for quiet reflection and solitude, elements crucial to meditative practice. While island life was communal, there were also sacred spaces, secluded spots, and natural wonders that inspired awe and introspection. These natural cathedrals, already imbued with spiritual significance, became ideal locations for early solitary meditation, providing a sense of natural sanctuary that complemented the structured environment of a monastery. You feel the cool breeze, hear the distant cry of a bird, and recognize the inherent meditative quality of the environment itself. Finally, the resilience and adaptability of Pacific Islanders, honed over millennia of navigating challenging environments and powerful natural forces, proved to be an invaluable asset. They were accustomed to embracing new ideas, adapting technologies, and integrating foreign elements into their existing cultural frameworks, always transforming them to fit their unique context. This wasn't passive acceptance, but active synthesis. When Buddhist concepts arrived, they weren't simply adopted, they were woven into the existing cultural tapestry, creating something entirely new and uniquely oceanic. You see this active adaptation, this creative integration, as the true genius of the islanders. They didn't just embrace Zen, they made it their own, infusing it with the manner of their lands, the wisdom of their ancestors, and the spirit of their communities. This wasn't merely the transplantation of a foreign tradition, it was the birth of something profoundly indigenous. Having witnessed the initial embrace of island shores, you now feel a subtle shift in the air, a deepening resonance. the whispers of Dharma grow slowly, steadily, permeating the very fabric of island communities, like the roots of a banyan tree spreading deep into the earth. This wasn't a top-down imposition, but an organic process where the inherent wisdom of Zen began to align with existing cultural pathways, finding its own unique expression. You observe the diffusion of foundational Buddhist concepts through daily interactions. It might be a foreign trader, now a settled resident, sharing a story about the impermanence of all things as a storm brews, or an island elder contemplating the cyclical nature of life and death, finding solace in the notion of rebirth. These weren't formal sermons, but natural conversations that subtly introduced ideas like dukkha, her suffering, anicca's impermanence, and anatta, non-self. You notice how these abstract concepts, though new in terminology, resonated with lived experiences on islands, where life was often at the mercy of powerful natural forces, typhoons, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, constantly reminding inhabitants of life's fragility and constant change. The idea that attachment to transient things brings suffering felt like a stark, undeniable truth to those who had seen their homes and livelihoods swept away by the sea. Consider the growing emphasis on meditative practices. While formal sitting meditation might have been initially foreign, the islanders already possessed traditions of focused attention. You see fishermen patiently waiting for the perfect moment to cast their nets, weavers meticulously crafting intricate patterns, or storytellers reciting long narratives from memory. These activities, requiring deep concentration and a quiet mind, provided a natural bridge to more structured meditative techniques. A Buddhist newcomer might introduce a simple breathing exercise, a focus on the present moment during a mundane task like preparing food or tending to a garden. You can almost feel the gentle shift in focus as the rhythmic pounding of taro or the repetitive weaving motion becomes a conscious, mindful act, transforming labor into a form of moving meditation. The ethical framework of Buddhism, particularly the 5 precepts not to kill, steal, lie, engage in sexual misconduct, or take intoxicants, also found fertile ground, while island societies had their own complex legal and moral codes. These Buddhist principles offered a universal ethical compass that resonated with existing values of community harmony and respect. You observe instances where disputes are settled with newfound patience and a greater emphasis on non-violence, perhaps influenced by the Buddhist teachings of mettas, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion. The idea of cultivating benevolence towards all beings, even one's adversaries, would have gradually begun to soften old grudges and tribal rivalries, fostering a deeper sense of interconnectedness within and between communities. You see islanders, known for their strong communal bonds, beginning to extend that sense of care beyond their immediate kin to a broader circle of humanity. Furthermore, the renunciate ideal of Buddhism, the monk or nun who leaves worldly life for spiritual pursuit, found echoes in existing island traditions of spiritual leaders, shamans, or hermits who withdrew for periods of intense spiritual practice or communion with nature. While the motivations and practices differed, the concept of an individual dedicating their life entirely to spiritual development was not entirely alien. You might hear tales of ancient chiefs who, in their later years, retreated to secluded caves for contemplation, and see how this tradition facilitated the acceptance of Buddhist monastics. These early, unofficial monks, or nuns, might have initially been individuals who simply adopted the foreign practices, perhaps in isolation, their serene presence gradually attracting curious followers. The visual culture also played a significant role in making the Dharma's whispers grow louder. As more artifacts arrived, and as rudimentary forms of Buddhist art began to be created locally, the serene images of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas became more familiar. You see a craftsman, accustomed to carving intricate totems, now attempting to sculpt a contemplative Buddha figure, imbuing it with local materials and aesthetic sensibilities. These images, radiating an unmistakable calm, served as silent teachers, conveying profound spiritual truths without the need for language. They offered a focal point for reverence, a visual representation of the peace that the teachings promised. Finally, the adaptability of Zen itself was crucial. Unlike some highly dogmatic religions, Zen, with its emphasis on direct experience and its often iconoclastic approach to ritual, allowed for greater flexibility in its integration. It was less about adopting a rigid set of rules and more about cultivating a particular way of seeing and being in the world. This inherent adaptability meant that as the whispers of Dharma grew, they didn't overwrite existing island cultures, but rather infused them, creating a truly unique blend. You sense that Zen found its home not by demanding conformity, but by offering a complementary path to wisdom that resonated with the existing spirit of the islands, allowing the whispers to transform into a quiet, yet powerful hum of tranquility. The whispers of Dharma have deepened, becoming a steady hum, and now you witness a pivotal transformation, the point where ephemeral concepts take root and become tangible. You behold the first monasteries emerge, not as imposing stone edifices like those in Tibet or China, but as humble, yet profoundly sacred spaces, uniquely adapted to the lush, vibrant environments of the Pacific Islands. This was a testament to the adaptability of Zen and the ingenuity of the islanders. Imagine the earliest Zen communities, not necessarily large but deeply committed. Their first monasteries might have been little more than a secluded clearing in a coconut grove, a cave overlooking the ocean, or even a series of traditional huts dedicated to shared practice. You feel the cool earth beneath your bare feet, hear the rustle of palm fronds in the breeze, and smell the salty tang of the sea. These elements became the very walls of their first meditation halls. The vastness of the ocean, the silence of the forest, the rhythmic crash of waves. These natural phenomena were not just surroundings, but integral to the practice, serving as constant reminders of impermanence, spaciousness, and the interconnectedness of all things. The construction methods were deeply rooted in local traditions. You see islanders, skilled in working with natural materials, applying their expertise to these new spiritual structures. Instead of imported brick or stone, you witness the careful weaving of pandanus leaves for roofing, the precise lashing of bamboo and local hardwoods for frames, and the ingenious use of volcanic rock for foundations. These early monasteries were entirely sustainable, blending seamlessly into the landscape. This organic approach to architecture mirrored the organic growth of Zen itself within the islands, adapting its form to the available resources and existing cultural knowledge. You might see a simple meditation cushion woven from local fibers, or a ritual vessel crafted from a polished coconut shell. Each piece a testament to the synthesis of Zen principles with indigenous craftsmanship. You realize that these nascent monasteries were more than just buildings. They were centers of communal life and spiritual discipline. They served as places for shared meditation, for the study of nascent scriptures, perhaps translated or orally transmitted fragments, and for the collective cultivation of mindfulness. You observe individuals rising before dawn, the first light painting the sky, to sit in silent zazen, the only sounds being the gentle chirping of birds and the distant murmur of the ocean. Afternoons might be spent in communal labor, tending to gardens, fishing for sustenance, or maintaining the simple structures, each task performed with a mindful awareness that transformed mundane chores into spiritual practice. This integration of everyday life with formal practice was a hallmark of Zen, and it found a natural resonance with the islanders' already community-oriented way of life. The leadership of these early monasteries would have been a fascinating blend. You might encounter a foreign monk, perhaps shipwrecked, or a retired trader who brought formal Buddhist training. But just as likely, you would see local spiritual leaders or elders who, having recognized the profound calm offered by Zen, began to integrate its practices into their existing roles. These indigenous spiritual guides brought their own deep understanding of the land, the people, and traditional wisdom, ensuring that Zen's development was truly grounded in the oceanic context. They acted as cultural bridges, translating not just words but concepts, ensuring that the new teachings were understood through the lens of island experience. You sense the profound respect given to these figures, whether foreign-born teachers or local wise ones, as they guided their communities towards a deeper path. Furthermore, these first monasteries often became focal points for community engagement, not isolated enclaves. While they offered retreats for serious practitioners, they also served as places where community members could come for quiet contemplation, for advice, or simply to share in the peaceful atmosphere. You might see children playing quietly near the meditation hall, or villagers bringing offerings of fruit and flowers, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine appreciation for the peace and wisdom emanating from these spaces. The monasteries, therefore, weren't just for monks. They were an integral part of the broader village life, embodying the potential for calm and compassion within the everyday world. Finally, the very act of establishing these places reflected a deep commitment to the new path. It signified a conscious choice to dedicate physical space and communal effort to the pursuit of spiritual awakening. These were tangible manifestations of the whispers of Dharma growing into a steady voice. They represented a safe harbor for the cultivation of inner peace, a place where the profound silence of Zazen could echo the natural stillness of the islands, and where the teachings of interconnectedness could be lived out daily amidst the interwoven lives of the community. You feel the profound significance of these humble beginnings, knowing that from these simple structures, a unique and resilient form of Zen would truly blossom across Oceania, with the first monasteries now firmly rooted in the island landscapes. You observe a fascinating process of cultural alchemy. This isn't just about importing foreign rituals. It's about watching rituals rooted deep, as traditional customs of the Pacific Islands begin to fuse organically with Buddhist practices, creating a new, vibrant tapestry of spiritual expression. You witness the adaptation of ceremonial spaces, the simple meditation hall, perhaps a structure of woven leaves and bamboo, isn't just a copy of an Asian temple. It incorporates elements of indigenous architecture, such as a prominent central pole, traditionally seen as connecting the earth to the sky, now perhaps symbolizing the axis of the mandala or the path to enlightenment. The altars, though now featuring serene Buddha figures, might also include offerings of local flowers, fruits, and kava, items traditionally used in ceremonies to honor ancestors or spirits. You feel the reverence as islanders approach, their offerings a seamless blend of old respect and new devotion, recognizing the sacred in both the ancient and the newly embraced. Consider the integration of chant and song. While traditional Zen chanting involves sutras in Pali or Sanskrit, you hear the emergence of Dharma teachings set to the melodic rhythms of traditional island chants. The deep, resonant guttural sounds of a Fijian meek or a Maori haka might now be adapted to express Buddhist principles of impermanence or compassion. You observe groups chanting together, their voices harmonizing, not just in a foreign tongue, but in their own languages, imbuing the ancient texts with a vibrant, local spirit. This vocal fusion makes the teachings accessible and deeply personal, weaving the essence of Dharma into the very soundscape of the islands. You also see the transformation of traditional communal gatherings. The kava ceremony, a central ritual of respect, hospitality, and communal decision-making across much of Polynesia and Melanesia, might begin to incorporate moments of silent meditation. You observe participants sitting in a circle, the shared bowl of kava being passed, but instead of immediate conversation, there is a pause, a moment of collective mindfulness, perhaps even a brief guided reflection on gratitude or interdependence. The kava, a symbol of community and connection, now also facilitates a shared space for inner quietude, making the sacred ordinary and the ordinary sacred. The art of storytelling, so central to island cultures, also undergoes a fascinating evolution. You hear ancient myths recounted alongside Jataka tales, stories of the Buddha's previous lives, or parables from Zen masters. Storytellers, traditionally the keepers of ancestral wisdom, now weave Buddhist moral lessons into their narratives, perhaps subtly reinterpreting existing legends to highlight themes of compassion, non-attachment, or enlightenment. You listen intently as a tale of a legendary warrior's quest for power transforms into a lesson on the illusion of self, or a story of a trickster god reveals the nature of karma. These narratives become powerful vehicles for teaching Dharma in a culturally resonant way. Furthermore, you notice the adaptation of symbolic gestures and movements. Traditional dances, rich with meaning and often embodying stories or spiritual concepts, might begin to incorporate movements that reflect Buddhist mudras, hand gestures, or the postures of meditation. A gesture signifying peace or blessing in a traditional dance might subtly merge with a Buddhist gesture of compassion, creating new layers of meaning. You see bodies moving with grace and intention, their movements not just expressive of cultural identity, but also embodying a conscious pursuit of inner stillness and spiritual connection. The role of the spiritual leader also sees a blending of traditions. An island chief or elder, traditionally responsible for the spiritual well-being of their community, might now also function as a Dharma teacher, drawing upon both ancestral wisdom and Buddhist insights. They might lead both traditional rituals and meditation sessions, their authority deriving from their deep understanding of both worlds. This syncretism ensures that the new path is not perceived as an alien imposition, but as a natural extension and enrichment of their existing spiritual heritage. You feel the profound respect afforded to these leaders, who embody the successful fusion of ancient roots and newly embraced calm. Ultimately, you recognize that this fusion of rituals is not a diminishment of either tradition, but an enrichment. The deep roots of Pacific Island cultures provide a rich, fertile soil, while Zen offers a unique bloom. The resulting composite rituals are authentic, vibrant, and deeply meaningful, reflecting the unique journey of these communities. It's a testament to the idea that true spiritual awakening isn't about erasing what came before, but about building upon it, allowing the wisdom of the past to illuminate the path forward, and letting the rituals, old and new, guide the way to a profound and rooted calm. With the foundational elements of Zen now visibly integrated into island life, you shift your focus to the pervasive impact of these practices on the daily lives of the inhabitants. You clearly see how the community cultivates calm, as Zen's emphasis on mindfulness and compassion begins to transform the very rhythm and interactions of island society. This isn't just about individual practice, it's about a collective shift in consciousness. You observe the profound change in how everyday tasks are approached. What once might have been seen as mundane chores, fishing, gardening, weaving, repairing a canoe, are now infused with a conscious awareness, a meditative quality. You see a woman meticulously husking coconuts, her movements precise and deliberate, her focus entirely on the task at hand. There is no hurriedness, no mental distraction, just the pure act of husking, a dance between hand and object. This is mindfulness in action, a direct application of Zen's teaching to find enlightenment, not in lofty abstraction, but in the immediacy of the present moment. You feel the quiet dignity in their work, the transformation of labor into a form of active meditation, bringing a sense of calm and purpose to even the most repetitive duties. This cultivation of calm extends to interpersonal relationships. You notice a newfound patience in discussions, a greater willingness to truly listen before responding. Disputes, which once might have escalated quickly, are now approached with a more even temper, a desire for harmonious resolution. The Buddhist teachings on right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and beneficially, begin to permeate conversations. You hear fewer harsh words, more thoughtful expressions, and a genuine effort to understand another's perspective. This leads to a palpable reduction in social friction, fostering a stronger sense of community cohesion. You witness small acts of kindness, unsolicited gestures of support, reflecting a growing sense of metta, loving kindness, being extended not just to family, but to all members of the community. The Zen emphasis on non-attachment and impermanence also begins to subtly influence islanders' perspectives on material possessions and natural disasters. While a hurricane's destruction is still devastating, you sense a subtle shift in the collective response. There's resilience, yes, but perhaps also a deeper acceptance of life's unpredictable nature. A quicker return to equanimity after loss. You observe people rebuilding with a calm determination, understanding that homes and possessions are transient, while the spirit of the community and the continuity of life endure. This isn't fatalism, but a profound understanding of the interconnected flow of existence, leading to a more grounded and less reactive way of being. Furthermore, the integration of Zen practices fosters a deeper connection to the natural environment. Already deeply respectful of nature, islanders now approach their land and sea with an even greater sense of reverence and stewardship. You see fishermen who practice a more mindful approach to their catch, taking only what is needed, and gardeners who tend their crops with a heightened awareness of the life force within each plant. This isn't just about sustainable living, it's about recognizing the Buddha, nature in every leaf, every wave, every creature. The earth itself becomes a living temple, and caring for it becomes an act of spiritual devotion. You feel the deep interconnectedness between the people and their environment, a bond strengthened by mindful interaction. Children growing up in these communities also absorb this calm through osmosis. You see them learning not just traditional songs and stories, but also observing their elders engaged in silent sitting or performing tasks with mindful intention. They learn by example, absorbing the subtle lessons of presence and peace. Perhaps simple breathing exercises are taught in a playful manner, or moments of quiet reflection are integrated into daily routines. This generational transmission of calm ensures that the practices become deeply ingrained, not just as formal rituals, but as a way of life, shaping the character of the next generation. Finally, the communal cultivation of calm strengthens the Sangha, the community of practitioners. Shared meditation sessions, group discussions of Dharma, and collective work projects not only deepen individual practice, but also reinforce the bonds between members. You feel a palpable sense of shared purpose and mutual support, a collective journey towards awakening. This isn't just a group of people living together, it's a living, breathing testament to the power of shared spiritual intention, transforming individuals and the entire community into a harmonious collective, steadily cultivating a profound and enduring calm. As the communal calm deepens, you now witness the next crucial stage in the story of Zen in Oceania. The formation and strengthening of distinct lineages take hold. This isn't merely the adoption of foreign teachings, but the organic emergence of unique Zen traditions, shaped by the distinct cultural and geographical nuances of the Pacific. You see how the essence of Zen, through a process of natural selection and adaptation, begins to branch out into new, resilient forms. Consider the role of local teachers and spiritual guides. Initially, the Dharma might have been introduced by foreign monks or traders. However, as islanders embraced the practice, certain individuals, often already respected community elders or spiritual figures, naturally emerged as leaders within the burgeoning Zen communities. These local teachers, having deeply immersed themselves in the practice, became the vital conduits for authentic transmission. They didn't just translate words, they translated experience, making the profound teachings of Zen relatable within the oceanic context. You observe a venerable islander, perhaps a former navigator or a master storyteller, now sitting in silent meditation, radiating a profound peace that draws others to him. His insights, born from his own realization and filtered through his cultural understanding, form the foundation of a new local lineage. These emerging lineages began to develop unique interpretations and teaching styles. While the core principles of Zen Zazen, koan study, mindfulness, remained central, their application and emphasis subtly shifted. You might find a lineage that places a particular emphasis on environmental stewardship as a primary form of practice, seeing the protection of the fragile island ecosystems as a direct manifestation of Buddhist compassion. Another might emphasize communal work and shared labor as the primary path to awakening, reflecting the strong collectivist values of their society. The emphasis wasn't on uniformity, but on adapting the teachings to best serve the unique needs and cultural strengths of each island group. You sense a vibrant diversity emerging, all rooted in the same fundamental path, but blossoming in distinct ways. The establishment of formal and informal training methods also solidified these lineages. While traditional Zen monasteries have rigorous training schedules, the Oceanic versions adapted these to their context. You might see longer periods of solitary retreat within the natural environment, utilizing the island's secluded coves or mountain caves for intensive meditation. Or perhaps, the training involved extensive periods of communal work, practice samu, where the act of fishing, cultivating taro, or building a canoe became integral to monastic discipline, teaching presence and non-attachment through physical labor. These adapted training regimens ensured that new generations of practitioners were fully immersed in the practice, not just intellectually, but experientially, embodying the calm they sought. You also observe the subtle changes in ritual and ceremony that define these new lineages. While some elements of traditional Zen rituals might be preserved, others are indigenized. Perhaps a specific type of shell is used for offerings instead of traditional incense, or a particular local song is sung during a walking meditation. These modifications aren't superficial. They reflect a deep integration, making the rituals resonate more powerfully with the islanders' spiritual heritage. The rituals cease to be foreign imports and become living expressions of Oceanic Zen, imbued with local manner and meaning. The challenges of isolation and connectivity also played a significant role in shaping these lineages. While the vastness of the Pacific could mean isolation, it also fostered self-reliance and the development of unique approaches. However, you also see occasional voyages between islands, bringing teachers and students together, allowing for the cross-pollination of ideas and the strengthening of a broader Oceanic Zen network. These connections, though sometimes infrequent, were vital for maintaining the authenticity of the Dharma while allowing for local adaptation. You witness the intrepid spirit of islanders who once navigated by stars for trade, now embarking on journeys for spiritual exchange, connecting distant Zen communities. Finally, the deep respect for ancestral wisdom within these communities meant that the new Zen lineages didn't seek to erase the past. Instead, they built upon it. You see how elements of traditional animism, ancestor veneration, and communal ethics were not discarded, but respectfully integrated, creating a synthesis that was profoundly authentic. This wasn't syncretism born of confusion, but a conscious, intelligent blending, where Zen offered a new lens through which to view existing wisdom, and existing wisdom offered a rich context for Zen. This mutual enrichment ensured that as lineages took hold, they became deeply rooted, resilient, and uniquely oceanic, embodying a calm that was both universally true and profoundly indigenous. You have witnessed the flourishing of unique Zen lineages, but now you confront the inevitable truth that no spiritual journey, especially one spanning cultures, is without its trials. You encounter the challenges and change that tested these burgeoning Zen communities in Oceania, from internal dynamics to external pressures, revealing their remarkable resilience. One of the most significant internal challenges was the integration of new members and the maintenance of doctrinal purity. As Zen gained traction, curious islanders from diverse backgrounds, with varying levels of prior spiritual understanding, sought to join. You see the delicate dance of educating new practitioners, ensuring they grasp the core tenets of Zen without alienating them or diluting the essence of the teachings. How do you teach concepts like humptiness or no self to those whose cultural narratives are rich with personal ancestral identity? This often required immense patience and creative pedagogical approaches from the indigenous Zen masters, who had to bridge not just linguistic, but conceptual divides. You might observe a teacher using a fishing analogy to explain interconnectedness, or the ebb and flow of the tide to illustrate impermanence, making the abstract tangible and relatable within the island context. Then came the challenge of external pressures, particularly from colonial powers and established Christian missionaries. As European influence expanded across the Pacific, Western religions often arrived with considerable institutional backing, resources, and sometimes coercive tactics. You hear the stories of newly established Zen communities facing suspicion, sometimes even outright hostility, from colonial authorities who viewed non-Christian spiritual practices as pagan or subversive. Missionaries, zealous in their proselytizing, often saw local spiritual traditions, and by extension, any new Eastern influences, as obstacles to be overcome. You observe the subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, pressures to convert, to abandon foreign or primitive practices in favor of Christianity. Zen monks and their communities had to navigate these complex socio-political landscapes, often maintaining their practice quietly, away from the gaze of authorities, or finding ingenious ways to frame their practices in terms that were less threatening to the dominant powers. The economic realities of maintaining a monastic community in often remote island settings also posed considerable hurdles. Unlike some traditional monastic centers with established endowments or large lay donor bases, these nascent Oceanic Zen monasteries had to be largely self-sufficient. You see monks and practitioners engaged in arduous physical labor, cultivating land, fishing, crafting goods, not just as spiritual practice, but as a necessity for survival. This often meant balancing the demands of spiritual discipline with the practicalities of earning a livelihood, a constant negotiation that tested their commitment. You witness their resourcefulness, their ability to sustain themselves through mindful labor, demonstrating that spiritual life wasn't separate from the practicalities of existence. Furthermore, natural disasters continued to be a relentless challenge. Cyclones, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and rising sea levels were constant threats to the fragile coastal communities and the humble monastic structures. You feel the raw power of nature as a storm ravages a newly built meditation hall, or a tidal surge damages their carefully tended gardens. These repeated acts of destruction forced the communities to rebuild, to adapt, and to continually confront the Buddhist teaching of impermanence in the most visceral way. Each rebuilding effort became a profound practice in letting go, in resilience, and in the understanding that true refuge lies not in physical structures, but in the unwavering peace of the mind. The generational transmission also faced challenges. While elders might have embraced Zen, ensuring that younger generations continued the practice amidst the growing influence of Western education and popular culture was crucial. You hear the dilemmas faced by young islanders torn between traditional ways, the allure of modern opportunities, and the demanding discipline of monastic life. The communities had to find ways to make Zen relevant and engaging for youth, perhaps through stories, art, or by demonstrating its practical benefits in navigating the complexities of the modern world. Despite these formidable obstacles, the resilience and adaptability inherent in the island cultures, combined with the flexible and experiential nature of Zen, allowed these communities not just to survive, but often to thrive. You recognize that these challenges, far from breaking the spirit of Oceanic Zen, often tempered it, forging a practice that was deeply authentic, uniquely suited to its environment, and imbued with an enduring strength born from adversity. They learned to bend like the palm trees in a storm, rather than break, allowing the calm to deepen even amidst the winds of change. Having seen the challenges these Zen communities bravely faced, you now witness a profound and beautiful process, how wisdom weaves together. As the newly embraced Zen teachings actively integrate and enrich the deep-seated indigenous wisdom traditions of the Pacific Islands. This isn't about replacing old with new, but about a sophisticated synthesis that created a more holistic and resonant spiritual path. You observe the reinterpretation of existing cultural narratives and symbols through a Zen lens. An ancient myth about a trickster god who causes chaos might now be understood as a parable about the nature of illusion and the consequences of ego. A traditional chant celebrating the abundance of the sea might be infused with a new awareness of the interconnectedness of all life. Emphasizing gratitude and mindful consumption, Zen masters, often local islanders themselves, skillfully drew parallels between Buddhist concepts and their own cultural heritage, demonstrating that the new wisdom wasn't alien, but a deeper unfolding of truths already present. You hear the wisdom of the ancestors being recited, but with a subtle, new emphasis on inner peace and universal compassion, demonstrating a deeper understanding of human suffering and liberation. Consider the integration of traditional healing practices. Many Pacific cultures have a rich tradition of holistic healing, involving herbal medicine, spiritual cleansing, and community support. You see how Zen's emphasis on mindfulness and compassion can be woven into these practices. A traditional healer might incorporate moments of guided meditation or silent reflection into a healing ritual, recognizing the profound link between mental calm and physical well-being. The act of gathering medicinal plants might become a mindful endeavor, connecting the healer more deeply to the earth and the healing power of nature, imbued with the Zen understanding of inherent interconnectedness. You might witness a group meditation preceding a communal healing session, enhancing the collective energy of recovery and well-being. The concept of interdependence, so central to both Zen and traditional island societies, became a powerful point of convergence. You hear teachings about pratyasamappida, dependent origination, the idea that all phenomena arise in dependence upon other phenomena, and see how this resonates deeply with the islanders' understanding of their reciprocal relationship with the land, the sea, and their community. The Zen emphasis on the lack of a separate, inherent self severanataf strengthened the existing communal ethos, fostering an even deeper sense of shared responsibility and collective well-being. You recognize that for islanders, the truth of interdependence was not just a philosophical concept, but a lived reality, and Zen provided a profound framework for understanding its spiritual implications. You also notice how traditional leadership and governance structures were subtly influenced. While chiefs and elders maintained their roles, the principles of compassionate leadership and wise decision-making began to gain new prominence. A leader might consult with a Zen monk or practice mindfulness before making important communal decisions, seeking clarity and a broader perspective. The emphasis shifted from purely authoritative rule to a leadership guided by wisdom, empathy, and a deep concern for the well-being of all beings. You see leaders embodying a greater sense of equanimity, managing conflicts with a calm and even-handed approach, drawing on the inner stillness cultivated through Zen practice. Furthermore, the transmission of wisdom itself saw a weaving together of methods. While Zen places importance on direct personal experience and silent transmission, the rich oral traditions of the islands provided a natural vehicle for conveying complex spiritual ideas. You observe how koans and Dharma talks are not only shared through quiet contemplation, but also through storytelling sessions, riddles, and communal discussions, often interwoven with local proverbs and parables. This blend of direct experience and narrative teaching ensured that the wisdom was accessible to all, irrespective of their formal education. You feel the profound impact of a spiritual teaching that embraces and honors the existing ways of learning and knowing. Finally, the very spirit of place in the islands became integral to the weaving of wisdom. The sacred mountains, the ancient banyan trees, the life-giving ocean, these powerful natural elements, already revered, became even more potent as sites for Zen practice. You see practitioners meditating beneath a sacred tree, feeling its ancient roots mirroring the deep roots of wisdom, or performing walking meditation along a pristine beach, the endless horizon reflecting the vastness of enlightened mind. This integration of the physical environment into spiritual practice meant that the wisdom wasn't abstract. It was grounded, tangible, and deeply connected to the very land that sustained them. The wisdom woven together was therefore not just theoretical, but profoundly lived. Breathing with the very spirit of Oceania, you have witnessed the profound integration of wisdom, and now your gaze falls upon a different kind of expression, one that speaks directly to the soul. You marvel at the unique art reflects awakening, where the fusion of Zen principles and Pacific aesthetics gives birth to entirely new forms of visual and performing arts. This artistic renaissance wasn't merely decorative. It was a deep manifestation of inner transformation. Imagine the sculptural forms, traditional oceanic carving, already rich with symbolic meaning and intricate detail, now begins to incorporate Buddhist iconography. You might see a serene Buddha figure carved from local wood, its features subtly blending traditional island facial characteristics with the peaceful gaze of a bodhisattva. The delicate, flowing lines of a traditional Kano might echo the graceful curves of a lotus petal, or a protective ancestral figure might gain an added aura of compassion, reflecting the influence of Zen's boundless kindness. These aren't just copies, they are deeply felt expressions, where the artist's own awakening imbues the wood or stone with a new resonance, a sense of quiet power that transcends mere representation. Consider the textile arts, a vibrant and central part of Pacific culture. You observe intricate patterns woven into tapa cloth or pandanus mats, where traditional motifs depicting waves, ferns, or mythological creatures now intermingle with Buddhist symbols like the Dharma wheel, the endless knot, or the lotus flower. The colors, perhaps once vibrant and bold, might also include more muted, earthy tones that evoke the meditative calm of Zen. The very act of weaving, a repetitive and rhythmic process, becomes a form of mindful meditation with each thread carefully placed, embodying the patience and precision cultivated in zazen. You can almost feel the texture of these fabrics, each one telling a story of cultural synthesis and spiritual devotion. The performing arts, particularly dance and chant, also undergo a fascinating transformation. You see traditional dances, once performed solely for ritualistic or celebratory purposes, now incorporating movements that express themes of impermanence, compassion, or the journey to enlightenment. A rhythmic drumming might become a backdrop for a walking meditation, or a traditional chant might be adapted to recite a short sutra or a koan, the words taking on new depth through the familiar melodic structures. These performances become active meditations, engaging both performers and audience in a shared experience of mindful presence and spiritual expression. You feel the energy of the dance, a dynamic embodiment of Zen's stillness in motion. Even the design of the physical spaces, the monasteries, meditation huts, and communal gathering places becomes an art form reflecting awakening. You observe that the layout prioritizes simplicity, functionality, and harmony with the natural environment, echoing the Zen aesthetic of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection and impermanence. The gardens, rather than being elaborate, might be designed for contemplative walking, with carefully placed stones and raked sand creating miniature landscapes for reflection, reminiscent of Japanese Zen gardens but utilizing indigenous plants and materials. These spaces aren't just practical. They are designed to facilitate spiritual practice, to encourage a sense of spaciousness and inner peace. The oral traditions, already powerful, are further enriched. You hear new stories emerging, parables that blend traditional island wisdom with Zen insights, creating narratives that are both familiar and profoundly illuminating. An elder, perhaps a storyteller, might narrate a tale of a hero's journey, but frame it as a quest for self-realization, subtly weaving in themes of non-attachment or the wisdom of no mind. These narratives become living artworks, transmitted from generation to generation, ensuring that the unique synthesis of Zen and Pacific wisdom continues to evolve and resonate. Ultimately, you recognize that this artistic flourishing is a testament to the deep internal shift happening within the communities. When the mind is calm and the spirit is awakened, creativity flows naturally. The art is not just a reflection of Zen. It is an active participation in its unfolding, a continuous process of discovering and expressing the beauty of awakening within the unique and vibrant context of the Pacific Islands. It is through these tangible and ephemeral creations that the calm truly takes on a visible form, solidifying its place in the heart of Oceania. Having explored the vibrant artistic expressions of Oceanic Zen, you now turn your attention to the movement of its practitioners. You follow the trails as pilgrimage paths connect the island monks, bridging distances, sharing insights, and strengthening the nascent Zen network across the vast Pacific and beyond. This wasn't just about travel. It was a profound act of spiritual exchange, deepening the roots of Zen in the region. Imagine the earliest pilgrimages, a small, sturdy outrigger canoe perhaps, carrying a lone island monk or a handful of practitioners across stretches of open ocean. Their destination might have been a neighboring island with a more established Zen community, or even further afield, to a more distant land rumored to host a revered master. These journeys were acts of immense faith, and physical endurance, echoing the ancient wanderings of Buddhist monks in Asia. You feel the sun on your skin, the rhythm of the paddles, the quiet determination that propelled them forward, seeking not just knowledge, but direct transmission and the deepening of their own practice. These inter-island pilgrimages served several crucial purposes. They facilitated the exchange of teachings and practices. A monk from Fiji might share unique insights gained from their practice, while a visiting monk from Samoa could introduce new meditation techniques or subtle interpretations of koans. This cross-pollination prevented stagnation and fostered a dynamic evolution of Oceanic Zen, allowing different regional expressions to inform and enrich one another. You observe vibrant discussions, quiet exchanges of understanding, and the shared joy of encountering fellow practitioners on the path. Beyond the Pacific, you see the more ambitious journeys, though perhaps less frequent. Island monks traveling to established Buddhist centers in Asia, while challenging these pilgrimages to places like Japan, China, or Southeast Asia were vital for authenticating lineages, receiving deeper Dharma transmission, and immersing themselves in the broader stream of global Zen. You picture an islander, accustomed to the tropical warmth and communal life, now bundled against the chill of a Japanese temple, observing ancient rituals, sitting long hours in silent zazen, and engaging with masters whose lineage stretched back centuries. This exposure would have brought both a reaffirmation of their own path and a wealth of new insights to bring back to their island communities. These journeys weren't one-way streets. Just as island monks traveled outwards, you also observe the arrival of Asian Buddhist teachers to the Pacific Islands. Perhaps they were drawn by reports of these unique Zen communities, or simply by the currents of global Dharma propagation. These visiting masters brought fresh perspectives, deeper scriptural knowledge, and often resources that helped strengthen the nascent monastic institutions. You see an elder Japanese Roshi, eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom, sitting with islanders under a banyan tree, sharing a Dharma talk that bridges millennia of Buddhist thought with the immediate reality of island life. The establishment of these pilgrimage paths also fostered a sense of broader spiritual identity among Oceanic Zen practitioners. They were not just isolated communities, but part of a larger, interconnected global Sangha. This sense of belonging provided both validation and inspiration, helping them navigate the challenges of their unique context. You feel the invisible threads connecting these dispersed centers of calm, forming a resilient network of shared practice and mutual support. Furthermore, these pilgrimages often led to the creation of new artistic and ritual forms. A monk returning from a foreign temple might bring back sketches of a particular Buddha image, or a new way of arranging an altar, which would then be adapted and indigenized by local artists. New chants might emerge, blending foreign melodies with local languages, reflecting the rich tapestry of their travels. These journeys were therefore not just about spiritual learning, but about cultural cross-fertilization that further enriched the unique character of Oceanic Zen. Ultimately, these interconnected pilgrimage paths, whether across lagoons or oceans, served as the veins and arteries of the emerging Zen body in Oceania. They ensured the flow of authentic teachings, the exchange of wisdom, and the strengthening of a shared spiritual identity. You recognize that the calm cultivated within each monastery was not static but dynamic, constantly refreshed, and invigorated by the movement and connection of these intrepid spiritual travelers, continuously weaving the threads of Zen deeper into the vast and welcoming fabric of the Pacific. You've charted the pilgrimage paths and observed the cultural weaving, and now you stand in the present moment, witnessing the modern monastic life of Zen across Oceania. It's a testament to resilience and adaptation, as these communities navigate the complexities of the 21st century while upholding ancient practices, keeping the flame of Buddhist calm alive in a rapidly changing world. You see how these Zen centers, though perhaps still humble, have become established fixtures in many island nations. While some might still reside in traditional, open-air structures, others have evolved. You might find a small, beautifully maintained Zen center in a bustling island town, its serene gates offering an oasis of calm amidst the daily grind. These centers often incorporate modern amenities, solar panels for electricity, perhaps, or internet access for communication, but their core function remains the same: to provide a dedicated space for practice, teaching, and communal living rooted in mindfulness. You notice the subtle blend of the old and the new, where ancient rituals are performed under the glow of energy, efficient lighting. The composition of the Sangha has also diversified. While indigenous islanders form the bedrock of these communities, you now find a growing number of practitioners from other parts of the world, drawn to the unique blend of Zen and Pacific spirituality. You observe individuals from Europe, North America, and other Asian countries sitting alongside local monks, all united in their shared practice. This global influx brings new perspectives and resources, while also challenging the communities to articulate their unique oceanic Zen in a way that resonates with a wider audience. This diverse Sangha enriches the practice, fostering a vibrant exchange of cultural and spiritual understanding. You witness the innovative ways these modern monasteries engage with their surrounding communities. They often serve as centers for peace and social outreach. You might see monks leading mindfulness workshops in local schools, teaching children simple breathing exercises to manage stress. Perhaps they offer meditation sessions to help community members cope with the impacts of climate change, providing spiritual resilience in the face of existential threats. Some monasteries engage in environmental conservation efforts, becoming active stewards of their precious ecosystems, demonstrating Zen's deep reverence for all life through practical action. You feel the tangible impact of their presence, extending beyond purely spiritual matters into the social fabric of the islands. The challenges of modernity are ever present. You observe the struggle to balance traditional practices with the demands of a fast-paced, technologically driven world. Young islanders, exposed to global media and consumer culture, might find the discipline of monastic life challenging. The monasteries must find ways to remain relevant, to demonstrate the profound benefits of Zen in addressing contemporary issues like mental health, environmental degradation, and social discord. You see teachers using digital platforms to share Dharma talks, adapting to new communication methods to reach a broader audience, demonstrating that ancient wisdom can be conveyed through modern means. Financial sustainability remains a recurring theme. While some centers might receive support from international Buddhist organizations or dedicated lay donors, many still rely on self-sufficiency and the generosity of their local communities. You observe monks engaging in traditional crafts, sustainable farming, or tourism initiatives, all undertaken with a mindful attitude, ensuring that their livelihood supports their spiritual practice. This commitment to self-reliance reinforces the Zen principles of simplicity and non-attachment. Despite these challenges, you sense a deep and abiding commitment to the Dharma. The unique lineages that took hold in earlier centuries continue to evolve, demonstrating a remarkable resilience. You see Zen masters born and raised in these islands, embodying a profound wisdom that seamlessly blends ancient Pacific traditions with core Buddhist principles. Their calm presence, their deep connection to the land, and their unwavering dedication inspire those around them. This is not a static form of Zen, but a living, breathing tradition, constantly adapting, growing, and deepening its roots in the heart of Oceania, a testament to the enduring power of calm in a restless world. You've witnessed the modern monastic life, seeing its adaptations and continued vibrancy. Now, you're peering into the horizon, envisioning how the future flows forward for Zen across Oceania, recognizing both the burgeoning opportunities and the persistent challenges that lie ahead for these unique spiritual communities. One significant opportunity lies in the growing global awareness of climate change and its disproportionate impact on Pacific Island nations. As sea levels rise and extreme weather events intensify, the inherent Buddhist teachings of interdependence, Prat Taisamat Padaif, and compassion, Karuna, offer a powerful framework for environmental activism and resilience. You see Zen communities potentially becoming leading voices in advocating for ecological justice, offering spiritual solace and practical guidance in adaptation. Their deep connection to the land and sea, combined with a philosophy that recognizes the inherent value of all life, positions them uniquely to address these existential threats, transforming eco-activism into a form of engaged Dharma practice. Another promising avenue is the increasing global interest in mindfulness and well-being. In a world grappling with stress, anxiety, and a pervasive sense of disconnection, the serene calm offered by Zen is more appealing than ever. You envision oceanic Zen centers becoming destinations for international retreats, offering a unique blend of authentic Zen practice, pristine natural beauty, and a deep immersion in indigenous culture. This could provide a sustainable economic model for monasteries while simultaneously spreading the benefits of mindfulness far beyond the islands. You see people from bustling cities seeking refuge and clarity, finding it in the quiet simplicity of an island zendo, guided by monks whose wisdom is deeply rooted in the very earth beneath their feet. However, challenges persist. The pressures of globalization and cultural homogenization continue to exert influence. As Western media and consumer culture pervade even the most remote islands, there's a constant struggle to maintain traditional values and spiritual practices among younger generations. You recognize the need for innovative educational programs within Zen communities that can articulate the profound relevance of ancient wisdom in a modern context, ensuring that the Dharma remains attractive and meaningful for youth who might otherwise be drawn away. The future relies on successfully bridging this generational gap, ensuring the continuity of transmission. The preservation of unique oceanic Zen lineages also faces a test. While connection with global Zen is beneficial, there's a delicate balance to strike between maintaining authenticity and integrating foreign influences. You see the importance of local teachers meticulously documenting their unique interpretations rituals, and practices, ensuring that the distinct character of Oceanic Zen is not diluted but preserved and celebrated. This requires a conscious effort to value and prioritize the indigenous wisdom that has so profoundly shaped Zen's journey in the Pacific. Furthermore, resource scarcity and economic viability will remain crucial considerations. While external support can be helpful, the long-term sustainability of these communities often depends on their ability to integrate into the local economy in mindful, non-exploitative ways. You might see future initiatives focusing on sustainable agriculture, local crafts, or ethical tourism that directly support the monasteries and their outreach efforts, ensuring they can continue their vital work without compromising their spiritual integrity. Despite these hurdles, you sense an immense reservoir of strength and adaptability within these communities. The inherent resilience of Pacific Islanders, combined with the flexible and experiential nature of Zen, suggests a future of continued growth and evolution. You envision Zen in Oceania not just surviving, but thriving, adapting to new challenges and continuing to offer a beacon of calm and compassion to a world in need. The path forward flows, much like the ocean currents themselves, with both predictable rhythms and unexpected shifts, carrying the seeds of peace to new shores and new generations. You have traced the journey from ancient echoes to future flows, and now you stand at the culmination of this extraordinary narrative, reflecting on the enduring Pacific Zen. This isn't merely a historical account, it's a living testament to the profound and unique way in which the tranquil wisdom of Zen Buddhism found a vibrant, enduring home amidst the diverse cultures of Oceania. You recognize that what blossomed here was never a mere transplantation of an Eastern tradition. Instead, it was a profound act of cultural synthesis, a remarkable alchemy where the ancient roots of Pacific Island wisdom intertwined with the liberating insights of Zen. The manner of the land, the reverence for ancestors, the strength of communal bonds, these weren't erased, but rather became the very soil in which Zen's seeds could flourish. You feel the deep wisdom that flows from this integration, a path to calm that is both universally resonant and profoundly indigenous to these islands. The resilience of Oceanic Zen is striking. You've seen how these communities weathered colonial pressures, resisted cultural assimilation, and adapted to the relentless challenges of modern life and natural disasters. Their survival speaks not just to the tenacity of the practitioners, but to the inherent adaptability of Zen itself, its capacity to find expression in diverse forms without losing its essence. It's a testament to a spiritual path that offers practical tools for navigating suffering and fostering peace. No matter the external circumstances, you observe how their calm isn't a fragile bloom, but a sturdy, deeply rooted tree, bending with the winds of change but never breaking. You also appreciate the unique character of this Zen. It's not the Zen of rigid monastic formality found in some Asian traditions, nor is it merely a diluted, westernized version. It's a Zen shaped by the ocean's vastness, the warmth of communal life, and the vibrant spirituality of animistic traditions. You sense a greater emphasis on engaged practice, where mindfulness is applied not just to sitting meditation, but to fishing, weaving, storytelling, and protecting the fragile island ecosystems. The boundaries between formal practice and daily life often seem more fluid, more integrated, reflecting the holistic nature of island existence. the legacy of the first Zen masters in Oceania, both foreign and indigenous, is profound. These intrepid individuals, whether they arrived by design or by chance, sowed the seeds of peace through their living example of equanimity and compassion. And the local islanders who embraced these teachings, who adapted them and made them their own, demonstrated an openness of spirit and a wisdom that allowed a foreign path to become a native one. You feel a deep respect for their foresight and dedication, recognizing the enduring impact of their pioneering efforts. As you reflect on the journey, you realize that Zen in Oceania offers a powerful lesson for the modern world: the possibility of harmonious coexistence between diverse traditions. It shows that true spirituality is not about exclusive claims to truth, but about discovering universal principles that resonate across cultures, enriching each other in the process. It's a beacon of hope for a world often divided, demonstrating that different paths can lead to the same profound calm, and that ancient wisdom can offer vital guidance for contemporary challenges. Ultimately, you carry with you the image of Zen across Oceania as a vibrant, breathing entity, a unique expression of Buddhist calm born from the confluence of ancient island spirit and timeless Dharma. It's a story of resilience, adaptation, and profound spiritual integration, a testament to the enduring human quest for peace and connection, found not in conquest or conversion, but in the gentle, powerful embrace of the present moment amidst the endless, calming rhythms of the Pacific.